All right, Dave, what do you remember about the start of your football career? Like, how did you get into kicking and how did you end up becoming a member of the Edmonton Eskimos?
Well, I was a linebacker at university, and one of the things that, you're a 5'10" linebacker, you got to be able to hit people. And so I worked in the weight room a lot, and I used to do squats, and I got up to 838 in squatting. And then one day I just got bored with it, and I'd kicked in rugby, so I went out onto the field and took a couple of footballs, and our coach came out and I tied up my toe, to lock the ankle. And it was really weird how I'd done it. And our coach came out and said, do it this way. And so the first ball that I kicked was a rocket. And so then 2 weeks after that, we got into a spring training. So they tried me out as a kicker behind an actual line and an actual rush and whatnot. The first kick, I hit the center in the butt at 200 miles an hour. The second kick, I hit the guard. The third, this is God's gospel truth. The third kick, everybody went down like they were being shot at. And then it went from there.
That's an incredible start to your career, and it ended up being a very long one, 16 years with the same team. That is an incredible accomplishment in pro football. What do you remember most about your time here in Edmonton?
There was two sides to it. Number one, there was the fans, but they were unbelievable. When I started, there was 21,000 in Clark Stadium. And then we went into Commonwealth, and they're up to 50. And I mean, it was just phenomenal. And the city was just great. I mean, you were shopping in Safeway, you'd be talking to people. It was just a very, very wonderful place to be. As far as the people on the team, we had a place that we didn't bother rookies, and we didn't, we consider ourselves a watch. And the most important piece in a watch, there isn't. So everybody in that room has a special place in what we do as a football team. And then Tom Wilkinson came along, and he was just amazing. He was a guy that, he was the knit, he was the glue, he was the person that really took us over the top. He was just an amazing guy. So it was people and talent that got us where we got.
So, as somebody who didn't get to grow up watching Tom Wilkinson, everybody who knows him and played with him speaks so glowingly about him. And he was not your typical quarterback. He was a smaller guy, but everybody raves about his leadership. What made Tom Wilkinson so special?
Everybody he was dealing with had something special that he could use as a quarterback. So he got the best out of them that a lot of people might not see. And he saw things that other people didn't see. Like, he and I were roomies, and when on one trip we were playing in Calgary, and he said, "Cuddy, what's the most important word when you're growing up as an athlete?" And I didn't know, and I mean, I'm sure you guys don't know either, but what it was go. And so what he did was he started coming up over the line of scrimmage, and he would go and the defensive line would come, and then they try to get back on side, and then he's coming up with a snap count, and then we're driving over top of those guys that are going backwards. But it was just a little wee thing that he could pick out the smallest details and then weave them into the fabric of what he was trying to be as a quarterback.
Excellent. So I want to talk about the famous kick in 1981. It was a team that was looking to be a team of destiny and continue their Grey Cup streak. Fell behind really early to Ottawa. What do you remember about the emotions for going from trailing by, I think, 19 points to having that kick and winning the game?
Well, that's a really good question, because that was really the epitome of who we were, how we played that game. But so we're down 19 points at halftime. Hugh Campbell didn't come in the dressing room. And the guys are talking the way guys talk when we're behind like that. And Huey came in. I mean, I got goosebumps telling this. Huey came in, and he was the most calm, phenomenal coach that, really had it all figured out. He came in and he said, the only thing he said for going to the second half, he said, "They showed up, let's go get them." And that was it. And then we had practiced probably, at least for me, probably 1,000 times. 6 seconds to go in the Grey Cup. That was always the pressure I put on myself practicing. And on the scoreboard, 6 seconds. Oh, it was bizarre. I got goosebumps just sitting here like this.
So I believe the picture is of you going through the airport terminal with the Grey Cup. You're sitting down. I think you have a cowboy hat and a jacket on, and you're sitting in the terminal going through. Could you remember that picture and that story?
I absolutely do. I absolutely do. And there was a little guy, Jason Homishin was his name, and he met us. And he was in a wheelchair, and he was chewing gum, and he got excited, and the gum came out. So I took the gum, and in the hole in the bottom of the Grey Cup, where they put it all together, I put his gum. And so we won the Grey Cup the next year, and there's a picture of me showing him the Grey Cup because the gum was still there.
It's incredible. So last time we did something like this, where we sat down with some W legends, Hugh Campbell referred to you as the best kicker in the world, and Brian Kelly said he had complete faith in you during the 1981 Grey Cup, saying he didn't even remember you missing a kick. How gratifying is it to be a kicker that is so trusted by his teammates in such a way?
Boy, that's friendship. They don't see the bad ones, remember. No, that's just, when you ask a question about them, and I'm answering the same way about them. It was just the knit that was between all of us on the team. Everybody trusted everybody's ability, number one, and number two, to work on their ability to make sure when it came to the big time that they have to perform, that they've got what it takes. Huey and Brian both. I mean, good God. Just unbelievable.
What were some of your best times with the organization, just in general? Any stories that you'd like to tell?
Huey came in, and I was late for camp. I was always late for camp because I was teaching school, and I was always late for camp because I didn't want to run. And so I was late for the first year that Huey was here, and I went and knocked on his door. I had arrived in the evening, and so he said, I knocked at the door, he answered the door, and I said, Coach, Dave Cutler. And he said, good, see you tomorrow morning. Closed the door. And I went, holy crap. And so the next morning, we're out kicking, and I was kicking on a field that was adjacent to the field everybody else was practicing on. And, I was in camp ready to go. And he came up and he said, I've never heard a ball pop like that. And I said, well, thanks very much, Coach. And Dwayne Mandrusiak was driving a truck that was about 40 yards away from us. And I said, watch this. And I was just jacking around. I said, watch that front window. And so I kicked the ball. The truck was moving. It went off the mirror into the front seat of the truck. And he said, I don't believe that. And I said to him, me neither. No, Huey was, I'll probably just stumble into saying things about Huey and the whole interview because he was the reason that we became what we became. Because he was a phenomenal person that knit everything together and see things in the people that they didn't even know that they had themselves. And he could bring it out. He was amazing.
Well, you got a first-hand perspective of that because you started your career in 1969. You won a Grey Cup in 75, but then Huey came in 77, took you guys to the Grey Cup, lost, but then after that it was nothing but championships. What was so special about Hugh that made that flip that switch for that team?
He understood ability, and he understood personality, and he understood situation. And he could knit all those three things together and pull it out of one person. And the way he talked to everybody, it was always respectful. Everybody thinks of a coach as yelling and screaming and doing all that stuff. Well, those are coaches of a certain level. But to bring teams to a level that we got to, it was all about coaching and seeing what they had and then put it all together.
Would you consider Hugh to be like the more modern coach? Because you did see a lot of coaches back in the day just yelling and screaming at players, where nowadays I think there's been a shift towards treating players more like adults and men rather than being able to tell them what to do all the time. Correct. Over your time, especially during that 5 in a row time, was there any teammates that really stood out to you that besides Wilkie and besides Hugh Campbell as a coach? And this is going to sound that I'm deflecting a question, which I am actually. I don't think
that there was any more important. There was people catching passes that were phenomenal, and they were absolutely, unbelievably important. But then there's guys in the dressing room that don't play, maybe 1 or 2 downs in a game, and they're just infectious guys that just always have a glue stick in their hand and weaving people into a situation, or just laughing as a team. I don't think that there was one person that did not fit on our team. And if you've got a place that you fit on the team, then that makes you important about weaving that piece together.